Perfect. Yeah, I'll coordinate with you when I should get in to do what's doing all that sort of thing. So no worries there.
But I do respect you and honor you. And this is part of the Bible.
In English.
In English, yeah.
All right, so listen.
Well, I wish I had the book to
I look at you. I'm here every so often, so come by and say hi to me again.
every day.
Not every day, but probably about 10 days a month. I'm here.
10 days.
10 days in a month, but scattered around the month.
I will stay here for a while because I told you I'm studying here as well.
Are you studying here through the end of the semester?
Now I'm studying in the English school. When I finish, I will start my master's degree at UF. So, and then PhD.
Good for you.
So I will stay here at UF for 6 years or 7 years.
Praise the Lord. Well, then I'll see you around, because I'll be here for those.
100%.
I'll be here next year, too.
And really good to see you.
You're Muhammad. I'm Hal.
Oh, yeah.
And you were Anas? How do you spell that?
A-N-A-S.
A-N-A-S. That's easy. Okay.
Yeah. It's really nice to talk to you.
Yeah, come back and talk to me again.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
Good
Blessings.
to see you.
God bless you. How's it going?
What's up, man?
Man, you got the stuff going here.
This is the way to travel, my friend. Let me tell you.
I've seen the one wheel. You know what I'm talking
Yeah,
about?
those are not as good. The battery life isn't as good.
Really?
Yeah, no. Yeah, this thing.
What's this one called?
This is the RS, the B code RS. It's I can go about 40 miles on it with a charge.
How fast does it go?
Huh?
How fast does it go?
This goes 45. Yeah.
No, I can't
Yeah.
feel safe going that fast.
Yeah, I'm getting a new one. It's the Sherman Max. It'll go 50, but I don't go more than 36.
Oh my gosh. I saw a
Yeah.
video of a guy on a scooter going like 60 miles an hour down the freeway.
Yeah, I saw that too. It's just stupid the way
That's
he was
insanity.
doing. No.
So you want to take the test?
Yeah, sure. Well, the test has a lot of assumptions, so I don't think it's a good test.
Okay. How do you know?
Well, it assumes that there is a heaven or a hell, and those are two places you go to. I'm assuming after death is what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say.
So why should we believe there's a heaven or a hell?
Well, I think there's a good possibility there's an afterlife. What do you say?
Why? Based on what?
Based on the idea that there's a God.
No. What? Okay, that's just an idea, but how do we know there's a life after death?
Well, we don't. Well, I think I could say I know because Jesus, the testimony of Jesus, who died and came back from the dead.
How do we have a testimony of Jesus?
Well, his disciples and many people who saw him after.
You mean in the Bible?
Yeah, but the Bible's a collection of books that were written down by people who are eyewitnesses.
By
to
unknown authors. They say they were eyewitnesses, but doesn't mean they were,
Yeah,
right?
we have good evidence that they were.
What evidence do we have for that?
Even scholars that are skeptical
No, what?
acknowledge that they were written by the apostles. For example, the book of Romans and the book of Galatians are uncontested letters of the apostle Paul. And even scholars who don't believe in Jesus' resurrection say, yeah, this really was.
Yeah, well, it doesn't really matter who really tries to give it credit, right? What matters is the evidence that there is. I mean, is there any evidence to show that Jesus actually existed for
So
once?
what about the gospel accounts tells you that it's a forgery? What?
No, it's not
why
about
would
what
you-
shows it's a forgery. I'm just saying what reason do we have to think that it's actually true?
Well, we have it. Okay.
But
So
what?
We have the Bible.
Well, the Bible's written by unknown authors. We don't know who wrote it.
Okay, we do.
No, we don't. Because not only was it written by unknown authors, it was edited over time. So
It wasn't. What
yeah,
evidence do you have of that?
Constantine and all that.
No, we have documents from before the time of Constantine.
Okay.
We have copies
Okay.
of the documents from the first.
Who?
and
Okay,
second
then
century.
who do you think wrote the Bible?
Many people wrote the Bible.
Well, we don't know who they are,
Well, we have a good idea who they are.
but we don't know who they are.
Well, I mean, we know
How?
based on the textual evidence that we have. So, I mean, if somebody wrote a book,
So we don't really know who
okay,
they were.
If somebody wrote a book and they attached their name to it, you wouldn't just say, "Oh, that wasn't really written by that
But
person."
people's names aren't attached to it, are they?
Yeah, they are.
What? Which name?
Like Paul, when he wrote the book of Romans, said,
Paul.
"I, Paul, the apostle."
Paul.
When he wrote the Galatians.
Okay.
So then we have the accounts of like Mark. And
Paul just wrote about Jesus in a spiritual sense, not like he was a real person.
he did, real person.
No, he never really talked about him
In
as
the
a real
book of
person.
Galatians, he said, "I was talking to James, the Lord's brother."
Uh-huh.
And Bart Ehrman, who is a UNC professor who is used to be evangelical, but now is an atheist. He says one of the ways.
It doesn't matter. Everyone's born an atheist. I mean,
I wouldn't say that.
oh yeah,
I
definitely.
mean, we're born without the ability to understand.
Really, which just means we don't have belief, which means we're an atheist. Because an atheist is just someone who's without belief in the God. So,
Okay.
I'm sorry. Continue.
But I wouldn't say it's a good thing to lack knowledge.
Why? I didn't say it was a good thing
Well,
to lack
babies
knowledge.
lack knowledge. That's why.
Well, babies are incapable of beliefs. So,
Sure, I guess so.
yeah.
I guess so. But
Yeah.
as we grow, we develop beliefs.
Right.
Every single one of us are people of faith. Even you. You believe things.
Well, it depends on how you define the word faith.
Faith
I don't really
is-
use faith
Yes, you
and
do.
how I define
Every
it.
single
No,
day.
not how I define it.
Well, you can define it the way you want.
Right, which is how I see the word.
Okay, so how do you define faith?
The faith is belief in something when you have no reason to.
Okay, so I don't believe in faith like that either.
Well, that's what the word faith means, actually.
Okay. So what does it mean when you believe in something because it's reliable? What do you call that?
Well, like I sit in a chair and know it's going to hold me up, I have reason to believe that it'll hold
That's
me
the
up.
kind of faith
It's
I'm
not
talking
faith.
about.
Well, no, because if you had reason to believe something, you wouldn't use faith. Like I would not use faith that the chair is going to hold me up. I know it's going to hold me up based on
You don't know it's
experience
gonna hold you
and what it's made of.
I'm sure that
I have reason to believe that
You
it'll
have
hold me
reason
up
to believe. That's-
because I know how it works,
Exactly.
and I know the chair is real.
But you don't know for sure it's going to hold you up.
Right, but at least I know the chair's there.
Yep.
Right?
And
I don't know a God is there, right?
I think you do
How?
by His creation,
How do you know God created anything?
because we see the elements of design and beauty. And
How so? How do we
complexity.
see that?
We see that by observance. We observe
Observing what?
the nature.
Okay, you think nature is actually designed.
Absolutely.
Okay, so then if nature is designed, then nothing is natural. Then how can we say it's we can't have design without nature. You can't have design without non-design.
Well, it's just in a separate category according to our mind.
What,
We believe.
What? Let's get to what is a God? Can you tell me that?
So I believe. So our world, according to the latest scientific theory,
Okay.
came into being through the Big Bang. But before
Well,
the Big-
actually, that's being questioned.
okay,
To tell you
great.
the truth, the Big Bang is really kind of it's a theory based on evidence. Now we do have lots of evidence
Now, it
for.
used to be accepted as fact a few
Well,
years ago.
it is factual that we have facts on it,
Okay.
but the Big Bang is actually a theory based off those facts. Like we have the red shift, and we have the everything moving away from
I
itself.
appreciate you saying that because most
But-
people, like
but-
a few years ago, it was like, this is fact, you can't deny it.
Well,
Anyway,
you know, it's okay to keep an open mind, but you really should only keep an open mind about things that show to exist. See, I can ask you what a God is, and I'm not really sure you're going to have much of an answer. I don't think we should believe in something if we don't even know what it is.
Sure.
So if you can't tell me what a God is, that's a problem.
Yeah, I would say that God is a timeless, spaceless, immaterial being.
No,
He's
no,
very powerful.
No. You can't define something by what you think it isn't. You have to define it by what you think it is.
I just said what it is.
No,
A
you
timeless-
said what it isn't. You said it's timeless. You said it's immaterial. These are things that it is not. You're not what it is.
a spiritual being.
What is a
powerful-
spiritual? We don't even know what a spiritual being is.
Listen,
What is a spiritual being?
so here's the thing. If there's a God who made us, and there's good evidence of it,
No,
'cause we
there's
see this
really not.
Yeah, everything has a cause, and we have to have an ultimate cause, and the cause can't
Well,
be
why can't your God have a cause?
because He's causeless.
How do you
Because
know
there
that?
has- there
How do
has
you know
to-
that?
there
How do
has
you
to
know
be-
it?
Well, I'm trying to say it, but you won't
Go
let me say
ahead
it.
then. Tell me.
Because Aristotle says there has to be an unmoved
Wait,
mover. There
wait.
can't be an. There
What does
can't
it
be
matter
an
what
infant,
he said?
Because he's smart and he's right.
What is that, how does that give us evidence that God was not caused?
Because you have to have a cause. Even science says you have to have a
But
cause.
why? Okay, if you had to have a cause, then why believe that's the cause?
Because it makes the most sense logically.
But it doesn't matter whether it makes the most sense. Is what shows to be true, right?
Yeah. Well, logic is a way of determining truth.
Right. But we need reason to think that not only is there a God,
Yeah.
but it is uncaused. We haven't even gotten to show that there is a God. We can't
Sure.
just say, "Oh, it must be uncaused."
No, everything has a cause that we see.
That we know of.
That we know of.
That we know of.
Okay.
Doesn't mean
So
that we know
according-
everything.
According to science, everything in the physical world has a cause. And so the most
That we know
logical- Yeah.
Right. Science means to know, which is knowledge of
Yeah.
us.
So everything we know says that everything within the physical world has a cause.
Right.
And so the physical world, according to science, was caused.
Well, okay, but
Okay.
you understand that's just what we know.
Sure.
Okay, we don't know everything. So you can't say because we don't know something,
You're talking-
therefore a God must exist and it must be uncaused.
No. I'm saying if you look at nature, you see the beauty of design, you see the beauty of nature,
You're assuming. I'm sorry,
you see design.
you're
Listen,
assuming it's design. You don't know it's design.
you can look at this building and
What is-
assume rightly that it's designed.
But it was
Can you
created
not?
by people.
Exactly.
We have evidence for that. We know people
What
are real.
evidence do you have?
Yeah, we can go up to blueprints. We can find out who made it. We know
can't-
how they made it.
But you know that without any of that kind of stuff.
But we see that's the building's real.
Yeah, the
And we
world is
see
real.
Right, but how can we show that a God made it?
Because we see the beauty and the design of
That's-
it.
no,
It's there. It's
no.
obvious. It's so obvious
No.
that it's
No.
it's so obvious that when you die and you meet God, you're not going to have an excuse for not
What makes you
believing
think
in God.
people can meet anyone when they're dead? What makes you think we can have consciousness when we're dead?
Well, you have no idea that we can't.
No, but you're saying we do. So it
Yeah.
doesn't matter what I think.
Because we're spiritual people. We have free will. We're more than just physical
I'm
things.
sorry, you're using all these words I'm really not sure about. How?
Okay.
What's a spiritual person? What does that mean?
We are more than just the physical. We live in a body. But even you say my body. You don't say me. You say my body. 'cause you
Right,
know
my
this
body,
is-
which houses my brain,
Yeah.
which is all of me,
yeah, your mind, which is immaterial.
which is part of a
Which is the
working brain,
software-
which is
which is the like a
which we know
software
is part
program.
of a working brain.
Yeah, you can't touch the mind though.
It's because it describes the working
Yeah.
brain.
It's a mystery that scientists
It's
don't
not.
even know it all
It's
yet.
not. We don't know it all, but we know it's
Exactly.
it's
Yeah.
created by the working brain.
And so
But what makes you think that there's something else other than that?
I think there's a lot of good people for all humankind have understood there's a God. And listen, if there
That
was,
doesn't mean that there is one.
yeah, but it
doesn't
give you-
matter.
It does matter.
How does that matter? You
does
still need
matter.
to show that there is a God. You
It's
can't
because
just say,
it's so incredibly obvious that there's a God.
just because
that
people
have
say it's
always
obvious
thought
doesn't mean it is.
it is obvious.
Well, then you
you
have
just
to-
don't want there
then
to
you-
be a God.
well, then you
you
have
don't
to show
want
there.
God to exist. Just admit it. You don't like the idea of
That's-
God.
that's the-
you don't want to be religious.
that's a
you don't want to be religious. You want to
That's
sin.
a deflection. That's a deflection.
It's truth.
No, it's a deflection.
No, it's true.
You can't handle the question, so you deflect.
I've answered every single question you've given me, and you just don't like the answer.
Well, I asked you what a God is, and you
And I
just,
told you, a spiritual being.
which
okay.
refers to something that is not
Something
part of
that-
our body, which you
That's
can't show
fine.
exists.
Just because you
The
can't
things that
imagine
way.
that with your mind doesn't mean it's not real.
Right, but you have to show how it's real, scientifically.
You have Jesus. You have Jesus.
Jesus,
Who
how
came
do-
and died and rose from the
How do
dead.
we know Jesus actually existed?
Because how do you know Caesar Augustus existed?
Okay, no, how do we know Jesus
How do you know
existed?
Caesar Augustus
That's
existed?
not the question.
It is the answer.
No, it's. I don't see how
We have
that's an answer.
historical records.
Okay, what historical
Not
records
everything
do
can be proven by science. I can't.
what historical records do we have of Jesus to know he existed?
We have the Gospels.
The
We have
Gospels, which were
Roman-
written well after
We
Jesus
have
supposedly existed.
Roman historians. that
Well
talk about
after Jesus existed.
No,
Tiberius,
not well after.
Tiberius existed well after
Yeah.
Jesus existed, and he was only.
Listen, the people that wrote about Caesar wrote well after he existed.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, no
Listen,
historian, no historian during Jesus'
you-
time ever wrote about him.
If you're like a small fringe of like people who don't believe Jesus was a real person.
Small fringe.
Small fringe.
It's actually pretty
Professional?
high. It's about
No.
30% of the population here in America.
Well, I'm talking about a small fringe within academia. People who study these things, Christian, non-Christian, they say Jesus was a real person, except
It
for a
doesn't
small
matter.
fringe who just don't want to believe in him because they don't want to look at the truth.
Oh, is that really the reason,
It is
or is
the
that
reason.
just a deflection of having to
not a
answer the
deflection.
questions?
No, I answered you. I've answered every single one of your
You said
questions
it's a
very
spiritual.
well.
As I drilled you back, you got to spiritual being. I
Okay.
asked you what a spiritual being is. You referred to something that's not part of us as somehow that's separate than us when we die, or
Can you
something like
conceive that idea? Can you conceive of something that's not physical? It's easy to conceive of that, and the fact that we can is good evidence
okay,
that there
but
is a God. And we
You have
call
to
it
say what it
spiritual.
is. It just
Something
it does-
transcendent.
I can conceive
Something
of.
that's
I can
outside.
conceive of many things. It doesn't mean they're real. I can conceive of flying a pink unicorn. It doesn't mean that the
Yeah, but
flying
you're
pink unicorns are
combining a
real.
bunch of things that's already real. You're combining things that are real and making up something.
Unicorns
So
are
the
real.
fa-
Okay.
Unicorns are real, actually.
Magical flying unicorns.
No, not flying ones, but unicorns are just
I'm not talking
rhinoceros.
about rhinoceros.
Rhinoceroses.
I'm not talking about the rhinos
Well,
that
in the Bible- when
that
the
we've
Bible talks
interpreted.
about-
That we've interpreted from the Bible.
No, the Bible talks about a large, powerful
Yes,
beast that
yes.
has one horn.
You're right.
It's a unicorn.
A rhino.
Yeah.
You're right.
Rhino. Not your mod.
That's
not
what
the
we
rhino.
were saying. But in order to say there's something other than us that's immaterial from us, like some sort of spirit, you have to say what that is and how we know it exists.
Listen, do you know everything?
You can't go that direction.
Yes, I
You
can
can't go
because
that direction.
I can say
How can you-
I can say lots of things
Okay.
with limited knowledge. I don't know everything about
Okay,
God. And
but
if I
you're
did, I'd be
saying,
God.
but you're saying we have a spirit that exists apart
Yeah,
from us.
I'm saying a lot of this from Revelation too.
Well, why
God's
should we
given it.
believe that we have spirits? And what does it even mean?
I think we have good reason to believe it because we know we're not a physical body. I think we totally know.
How do we not know that? How do we know that?
How do we know that we're just a physical body?
There you go, trying to answer with a
We
question.
have a mind that's immaterial, so why would you think that we're just a physical
But you
body?
make the positive assertion that we have more than a
You're
physical
making
body.
assertions that we don't have more than a physical body.
Well, if I do that, it's because I'm a skeptic and I don't have the burden of proof. You do. You're making a
Well, you
positive
have
assertion.
a lot of burden of proof.
How
You're
do I have
saying
burden
that
of
this whole world that's intrinsically designed and looks like it was created and looks like it was designed. Even evolutionists will say
That's
the
your
appearance of
interpretation.
design is here. That's what they'll say. I guarantee it. They say the appearance of design is here.
Appearance does
but
not
it
mean
came-
actual design.
It came by an accident a bazillion years ago.
Okay.
Okay? This is extreme
Accident.
faith.
There's really not
Extreme
really anything
faith.
called
That's
accident.
you have
It's-
extreme,
it's called cause and
you
effect.
Have, you have faith.
I don't use faith. I don't use faith.
That's not. Yes, you do. You have lots
No,
of faith.
I already
You
told
have
you
faith that all this came from nothing. Is that your faith?
No, nothing.
And
What,
you say-
what
you
is
say-
nothing? So what is nothing, sir?
Nothing is
What is
what
that?
rocks dream about.
Do we know what nothing is?
I just told you what nothing is. What rocks dream about.
what
What rocks dream about.
that? So you're
That's what
not
nothing
really
is.
answering the question again.
I didn't answer the question.
So
Get
you're
out of here, man. You don't want to.
so you're out here trying to convince people that there is a God or a heaven or a hell, but when they probe you for questions about what it is you believe in, you deflect and you run from the questions.
No, I didn't run from one question.
You did. I got you down
You
to-
have the whole world already solved in your mind. Everything I said.
How do I have the whole world solved in my mind? No, I don't know everything.
You're not
Sir,
open to anything.
I don't know. I'm open to anything that you can show to exist. I love the truth.
You're not interested.
I
in
love the
truth.
truth.
You hate the
Do you know what the truth is?
truth is Jesus Christ.
No, truth is a degree to which a statement corresponds with reality.
Which is Jesus
if
Christ.
you're going to say God or Jesus is real,
You're not open to that.
you need to show that that your
I
statement
gave you
corresponds
proof.
to reality.
I did.
You did not.
You didn't
You
listen.
said we have spirits, but
I
you
said
couldn't
the
tell me what it
testimony-
is.
I said the testimony of the apostles. Yes, I did tell you what
You
it
don't
is.
even know what a spirit is. Tell me
Yeah.
what a spirit is. How can we know
How
what a
would
spirit
I know
is?
exactly what a spirit is?
How can we
Say-
test for a spirit? How can we test for a spirit? Tell me.
Yeah, it's a spiritual thing. You're not going to test it with physical things.
Okay,
There's
then
another-
how do we know it exists?
There's another world.
Then how do we know it exists if we can't test for it?
Well, we know it exists because
We
have a world that was
Oh,
caused by spiritual
gosh.
things. Because we have
round
to
and round you go.
No,
I think there's like an interesting point for what you're saying, and you as well, which is that just because something lacks an explanation isn't proof that it doesn't exist.
No. But until it's shown to exist, it's dismissed as easily as it was asserted to exist.
It depends
That
on
which
the,
can
it
be-
depends on the people you're talking to.
Well,
If they accept or deny the
it can. But to the person who's using logic and reason, that which can be asserted without evidence can be dismissed without evidence, as Christopher Hitchens says.
Bro, you're not looking for evidence.
Of course I am.
You're just
I
looking-
love the truth. I love
You
just
don't love
because
the truth,
just
bro.
because you're sold
love
on
sin.
this, sir. Just because
You
you're
love
sold,
sin. You
just
hate
because
God.
you know,
It's true, bro.
just because you're sold
I've
on
given
this
you
God, Jesus, heaven, hell thing, and you think it's real, and because other people don't believe in what you believe in, doesn't mean that they're sold or they're closed-minded or whatever. At all. Not
You're
at all.
closed-minded. You're the most closed-minded person I've ever
I
seen.
love evidence. I love
Yeah,
the
I
truth.
gave you evidence. You wouldn't even consider it. You shot everything down without even listening.
You got down to spirit, and I asked you about spirit, and you ran away with that.
I-
You didn't go anywhere with
I
that.
said a spirit is something that is
It's
not in
what-
the physical world.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
What
Like,
do we
I'm
know
gonna
of that's not in
exactly
the
what that
physical
is.
world? What do we know?
Okay.
What do we know of that's not in the physical world?
God.
And I asked you what a God was, and you said a spirit. So you see how kind of a circle that is?
Not a circle.
That's, if I ask you what a God is, and you refer to spirit, and then I ask you what a spirit is, and you refer to God, that is actually literally a circle.
Yes, but it's true. God is a spirit.
It can't be shown to be true if you're going in circles. You can't refer back to the thing you were asked about as what something is if I ask you about that first thing to begin with. If I say, what is God? And you
Yeah.
after all the answers you gave me, you finally got down to spirit, and I asked you what a spirit is, and you refer back to God, that doesn't get you anywhere in explaining what it is you believe in.
Yeah. No, God,
Yes.
the creator of the world,
We don't know that, but go ahead.
powerful, non-physical being
We know nothing about
that
that.
made us. That's a description
Okay,
of
that
God.
tells me
Okay.
actions you think it's taken, not what it is. I asked you what it is, you said a spirit.
I gave you my best description of what
Okay.
God is.
So then
Listen,
basically I can
as a-
so I can literally stand here and tell you that you have no idea what you're talking about when you refer to your God and your heaven and hell.
I know. Bro,
You have no idea what you're talking
Bro.
about. You have no
I have
idea.
a revelation that tells me all about the person of who
That's a
God
book of-
is.
that's a book
this
of
is
myths.
a book of people
A myth.
who had experiences with God. Who
Unknown
gave
authors.
eyewitness testimony of what they experienced from God.
How do we know they're eyewitness testimonies? Because they say so, right?
They say so,
Of
and they're
course.
corroborated with
Of
each
course.
other.
Of
And why
sure
do we
they
doubt?
do.
You automatically doubt it. without examining it.
Because you need to have evidence for it. Oh, I haven't examined it?
You want some evidence?
Oh, okay.
Oh, look, Isaiah 53 talked about Jesus 500 years before Jesus came, talked about his death on the cross.
Yeah, it was written well after Jesus existed.
Wow.
There you go.
You ever heard of the Dead Sea Scrolls?
Dead Sea Scrolls talk about Christ, not really Jesus.
Dead Sea Scrolls, they found the full scroll of Isaiah.
Not really talk
full
about
scroll
Jesus.
of Isaiah.
No.
Go to Jerusalem.
No.
Go to the museum in Jerusalem. You'll see the full scroll found before the time of Jesus. Any scholar will tell you this.
And who wrote that?
Isaiah.
Oh, okay.
Prophesied. It doesn't matter who wrote it.
Okay.
They told about Jesus' death.
Is it still evidence? Is that evidence Jesus existed?
Evidence.
Is that evidence Jesus existed?
Bro, you don't believe Jesus existed. You are far out there, bro. Far.
It's called reality.
It's called far, way in the fringe.
In the fringe?
In the fringe.
Or am I more realistic than you are?
Academic historians who work at universities.
Popularity does not buy you truth, sir.
Yes, what I'm saying is there are very credentialed people who
doesn't
are very
matter.
experienced.
Popularity or authority does not buy you truth.
I agree. But I am
well,
saying
then stop referring to popularity and authority.
That you are looking at without lots of evidence for the historicity of Jesus Christ. And you throw all that out because
there is no evidence of Jesus.
Lots of evidence.
No historian living during Jesus' supposed lifetime ever wrote about him. Ever. No contemporary historian.
Paul. Luke.
That's in the Bible.
Luke.
Luke?
The
really?
Bible.
Oh, did you just name a book as a person?
Luke wrote the book of Luke.
Oh gosh,
Okay.
really, dude?
Luke.
I think those are names just given to the Bible,
Luke
my friend.
wrote
Mark.
the book of
Are you
Acts.
gonna say Mark's a real person too, and so is Matthew?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. That works, buddy. You're the one that's far out there, not me. You can't even define what it is you believe in, and you try to shame me for actually questioning your ridiculous beliefs. And you can't even answer. Are you kidding me? And you're out here trying to teach people to believe in, brainwash them to believe in your bogus, and you think that's the way to go?
So what do you believe? When we die, we're dead?
What reason do we have to think otherwise?
Okay, I'm asking you what you believe. So there's a little girl dying of cancer. There's a little girl dying of cancer.
Oh, okay.
She's in the hospital.
So we're going to use appeal to emotion to try to say, is it okay to lie to her and tell her that there's an afterlife when she's going to die soon? Is that where we're going with this?
What hope are you going to give her, my friends?
Why does she need hope that there's life after death?
What hope are you going to give her?
Why not comfort her about the life she had?
Because we know. Because we know there's more than just this world.
If we knew that, then we wouldn't need your little emotional appeal there as evidence that there's afterlife.
I don't know what happened in your past, what kind of traumatic experience
it's called actually reading books and stuff.
Yeah. A lot of Christian
logic
religions.
and reason. You should try it sometime.
Yeah.
You know, you probably make a good argumented person if you actually knew what you're talking about.
Well, God bless you, man. Nice talking to you.
You know what you should do? You should probably go on to YouTube and look at Atheist Experience.
Oh, yeah, I've seen all that.
Matt Dillahunty, he used to be like a preacher
really
kind of
sad.
guy like you. And I think you should call up because, everyone who believes in...
Now I understand you. You're watching that stuff. Okay.
It's brain food. Anytime you can get any kind of information from someone on a topic you're interested in, it's brain food. Because you learn from all interactions.
Yep. You want to watch his opponents, not just him.
Maybe you should call up and tell them why you believed in God the first time. Because when people believe in a God and Jesus and all this stuff here, they believe it all for different reasons. Mm-hmm. Like, you don't believe in a God or heaven, hell, all this because any of those show to exist. You believe in them because of whatever happened to you, however you were convinced when you were younger, by your family, something happened to you, whatever. These are the reasons why you believe in what you do. So if you actually call up and say, this is why I believe, maybe they can help to dismantle some of that to help you understand where you went wrong.
Yep. No, I have subjective and objective reasons for believing in what I believe.
Well, I didn't see any objective ones. I asked you when you ran away.
Things.
What's that?
You just asserted things, and you wouldn't listen.
I asserted things?
Yeah.
No, I asked you questions.
Yeah, no, you did.
I didn't ask you questions? I'm just what?
You're just spouting off what you think is smart.
What I think is smart? Or what makes sense, what's logical?
Yeah, it's not logical.
It's not logical because it doesn't agree with you.
It's not logical this world came from nothing. That's not logical.
I never said it came from nothing. You did.
Yeah, no. Well,
you can't even tell me what nothing is.
Tell me what you believe it came from.
Why should I have to know where it came from or even have a belief it came from?
You're saying you don't know. I'm saying I do. I'm saying immaterial, spaceless, timeless, powerful
if we don't know how something came to, and therefore you think you do, that's called argument from ignorance.
You're accusing me of not knowing, and then you say you're not knowing. So you're
I don't have to know where everything came from.
I don't have to know everything about God.
Well, you didn't even know God exists.
If God is real, and if He's all-powerful and all-knowing, like I believe that He is, there's no way I know everything about God. That's just
You
logical.
didn't know that he does exist,
I don't know
though.
everything about this world.
But
I
you
know
don't
everything about-
even know he
I don't
exists,
know everything
and
about
that's the
Gainesville.
problem we're having.
I know
I don't know
he
how the
exists.
world came to be. You don't either.
I do.
But you take a step further and say, well, since you don't know, then I know it's God.
No, I do, because it's the most logical. 'Cause
How is
something
it most
doesn't come-
logical?
Something doesn't come from nothing. First of all, we know
Okay,
that.
what is
That's
nothing?
scientific
We have
fact.
no idea what nothing
Nothing
is.
is what rocks dream about.
We have no
All right?
idea what
That's
nothing
silly
is.
to say that.
We have
Nothing
no-
is nothing.
We have no idea what nothing
Nothing
is.
is. I'll explain
We have
it to
no
you.
idea.
Nothing is no thing.
No,
That's what nothing
that's
is.
Did
that's
the
not,
universe begin to exist, do you think?
who knows?
You don't
You
know?
don't know.
Maybe
We
the
do
universe
know.
always existed. It was in one, a different form.
Not guaranteed, but it seems probable that there was some kind of design that led to this process.
I don't see how you can jump to probable for that.
Because it's
You have-
extremely improbable that any of this would be happening.
Just because something's improbable doesn't mean that therefore.
So you think it happened by chance?
Well, chance and random are just expressions of cause and effects that we're unaware of. So
It
it's
sounds like you're saying there's like essentially almost 100% chance that we would not exist.
Yeah.
And
it
that's like,
exists.
so that to me is like if I was buying a lottery ticket, they're like, hey, you have like 99 to like, point, numerating percent to win like $1 million. I'm like, sounds probable that I'm gonna win. I think that's what he's trying to drive home here. Is like, that's probable. It's extremely likely that we wouldn't be here. So the fact that we're here is like, how does that make any sense? Just it's at least puzzling to some degree.
Yeah. Certainly puzzling.
okay.
plausible that we were created by God.
Yeah, it makes
That's
it plausible.
We can't jump to plausibility of something we know nothing about.
But
If we don't know how things came to be, then we don't know. We can't say, oh, it must be something we know nothing about.
But then that just brings you, okay, we're never really going to know the true
We don't know
origin
that.
point. So
No, not at all. It's we don't know that. We don't know. He's the one who's putting a limit on him, not me. Pay attention.
because no, think about even if you found the true origin point of this universe, some natural cause, what was the natural cause of that? Then you're just led to an infinite regress.
I mean, I think it depends on what.
Well, I'm just saying we don't know that we can't know that.
No, I'm saying that if we found, so like you're saying, if we
found out all
we
causes,
wouldn't know the cause. No, we
maybe-
can't find all.
maybe we will. We see. You can't limit our ability to know.
No, because I'm saying even if you found the first cause, you don't know what caused that first
What if
cause.
we do find out?
No,
I'm just.
I don't understand. I mean,
I'm
you
saying
can't
if
you can't
you
limit
found-
our ability to know things.
no. If you found the first cause,
Okay.
you wouldn't know what caused that. Okay, let's say you find out what caused that. You wouldn't know what caused that.
How do you know that?
Regress.
All you're saying is that we're always going to have something we don't know.
Yes, that
but you're
is for
trying
sure.
to put limits on that. You
No,
can't put limits on
It's
that.
not. It's actually the
Well,
opposite of a limit. It's a potential.
You
infinite.
need to put a limit on that in order to make your probability look more probable of a God. You can't do that. You can't. But you can't put a limit. If we don't know something and you think there's a hard stop on that, you have to just say, "Well, I don't know," and it's okay to say, "I don't know." But we can't jump and say, "Oh, therefore maybe God is," because it's so hard to know this, and I don't think we'll ever know this.
But I never said I know God exists.
Well,
said
I know
it's
that, but you try to
probable.
give of a higher probability when a God is just as unknown, if not more unknown, than a natural cause, because it's full of magic.
I'm just wondering, are you unwilling to concede that God could exist?
I don't even know what it is, so I can't really say that.
Let's just say God exists. Would you be? I'm just wondering now because like I feel like I'm not
Well,
trying to be rude.
that's like
Well, I
asking me if a blah,
Well, I'm
a
not
blah
trying to be
exists.
rude,
I don't know what a
I
blah
just
is.
feel like this conversation is not being had in good faith to like get to a point of consensus. Because I feel like you're just you're not having.
Well, it depends on how you view the conversation.
Well, that's what I think. That's what we're interpreting here. Is like we're kind of there's some good arguments here that we I think can at least agree on,
Okay.
and you're not really buying them for reasons that at least I can't understand.
Well, there's no evidence. Well, the reason I don't buy into people's guesswork is because there's no evidence to suggest that it's actually true.
But what about the evidence that suggests, okay, let's say that religious people are less likely to experience depression, they're less likely to commit suicide, they're far less likely to
They're
experience...
more likely to commit crime.
That's not true.
Oh, yes, that's
Based
true.
on what
There's
statistic?
no atheists in prison, you know that.
Hey, it's a crazy guy.
Yeah. You can't get parole in prison if you say, I'm an atheist and I despise God. Everybody in prison is Christian.
Okay, I don't see how that aids the conversation in any way,
It
but
deletes your false argument and false equivocation that religious people are more likely to commit crime. Atheists commit crimes all the time against God. That's the biggest crime
oh
of
gosh,
all.
yeah, no.
Well, yeah,
Statistics
like
will
Stalin
show
was an
atheists
atheist.
cause less crime.
Stalin was an atheist.
No, Stalin was not an
Stalin-
atheist. Well, was he an
Absolutely.
atheist?
Stalinism propagated forced atheism.
Okay, yes, he was an
Stalin made it
atheist.
illegal
He was
to
an
not be
atheist,
an
but he
atheist.
ran a state religion.
That's not a religion.
No, that's what he went by.
Atheism.
Atheism had nothing to do with what he was doing, though.
He had forced atheism.
He didn't force.
No,
He
it
didn't
was
force
illegal.
atheism.
What was the religion of Stalinist Russia? I'm thrilled.
Atheism is not a religion.
What was the religion of Stalinist
He had his own state religion. He had his own state religion. Atheism played no part in
What was
it.
his religion?
What?
What was Stalin's state
You'd have to
religion?
look it up. I'm not a walking Google.
It's nonsense. There was one church in Moscow that held 10,000 people in a city of 10 million people.
Okay.
It was there for show, for when Westerners came to be deceived. But I don't expect you to be deceived because you're highly intelligent. The official
right.
religion of Stalin's Russia was atheism.
Okay. It's not.
Totalitarian
Atheism is not a
atheists like
religion.
Hitler and Stalin
Atheism
killed
is not a
100
religion,
million
sir.
People.
It's not a religion. You
No,
can't
it's
keep
not.
saying.
I didn't say it's a religion. It's a faith.
It's not a faith either.
Atheism is a faith.
Atheism is a lack of belief in a God. That's all it is.
What is your proof
What is my proof of what?
that there is no God? You're going by faith.
I'm without belief in God.
You have a faith that there's no God.
When did I say that?
When you said,
When I said I'm an atheist?
I don't want to assume. Let me ask.
Oh, good job.
Is there a God?
Is there a God? What is a God?
Well, we can start. Okay, what's it?
Right. What is a God?
I'm asking.
I don't know. You're the one who says there is,
If you don't
right?
know, what are you doing preaching atheism?
Atheism can't be preached. It's a lack of belief. Do you understand the prefix a means without and theism means belief in
You're
God?
agnostic.
Agnostic means to believe something to be unknown or unknowable. You still must be either a theist or an atheist, one or the other. Agnosticism is just a modifier added to either one of them. It's not a middle ground.
I don't want to play semantic games. I want a real conversation.
Real conversation, huh? I remember you from the 1990s when you were here preaching. You remember me? Used to be on a bike.
How are you, Tim?
Hey, buddy. I have my own YouTube channel now. It's called TedTheAtheist.
But you're not an atheist. You're agnostic.
No, I'm an atheist. I told you what a Gnostic is. You're not accepting that
Is
now.
there any evidence that a God exists?
I don't know what one is.
Then you can't be an atheist.
Of course
If you
I'm an
don't
atheist.
know- okay.
If I don't know what a God is, then therefore I don't believe in one. So I'm an atheist.
A theist believes in a God.
That's correct.
Or gods.
Yeah, it's correct. In a God.
So you cannot, by definition, be an atheist unless you can tell me what a God is.
That
You
makes
can't-
no sense at all.
Makes no sense.
How does that make sense?
I don't believe there are pink unicorns on.
I don't need an analogy. I need that to make sense.
It's not an analogy.
Yeah, you're making an analogy.
It's a simile.
No, I don't need that.
You have a term you don't understand.
Right.
Can I
No, I don't know what a God is. Therefore, I don't believe in one. Right?
Can I finish my simile?
Go ahead.
I don't believe in pink unicorns on Saturn because I have working definitions logically of Saturn, unicorns, and pink. You cannot say you're an atheist. You're an agnostic. If you can't tell me what a theist is, they believe in X. How can you say you don't believe in X?
They believe in a God. I'm without belief in X. I didn't say I believe there is no God. I say I'm without belief in the God. That's what an atheist is. Atheist doesn't say there is no God. He's just without belief
In what?
in a God.
What is a God?
Well, the question I've always tried to ask people, they really don't know what they're talking about. They'll try to say it's a creator of the universe or some other pretty little phrases don't really refer to anything real, is what they'll say. And to that, I will say I'm without belief in that because I have no reason to think that some being created all this.
So you're accepting a priori that you don't believe in a creator. Is that what you're saying?
Some sort of creator of that nature, yes. But when people say that there is a God, they really should know what it is. Because when you say creator, it's really trying to tell people what it's done. I don't care what they say it's done. I want to know what it is, what it's made of, where it lives, how it goes about its day, what we know about it. If we don't know anything about it, then how can we even know that it exists?
You're right.
So, what's it been, 20, 25 years since I've seen you and you still haven't learned anything?
Still look the same age. You look very young.
I don't drink or smoke or anything, so.
No, I would just say that, where to start. I don't have all knowledge. I'm not omniscient.
Okay.
God, if a God exists, we can start on a definition of a God. Whatever this God is. He could be molecule size or galaxy size. I wouldn't know if I was looking through a telescope when I saw him. He could be the size of a galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
So lacking omniscience, I can't say there is no creator.
Right. But you can be without belief.
You could be atheist.
Without belief, right.
But-
Which is what I am.
Okay. The reason
I really thought that over this
you
time...
understand why I'm saying you're agnostic. I'm saying you're agnostic because...
Do you understand the word differently than I do? But I go by the literal definition of the word.
Sure. But I hear your frustration at people not wanting to define who God is or what God is.
Yeah, it's important to know that. Very important. Because how can we go around saying that something exists if we can't even define it?
Well, I don't know my great-great-grandfather's first name. I'm not even sure about his last name because our name changed when we immigrated to America.
Sure.
But I know what he did, and I know what.
But we know it's a person, and we know what a person is.
Yeah, we have some.
So that's a large difference. See, it's another analogy. I don't really need
But
that.
God in the Bible is anthropomorphic. He describes himself like a person, and he claims to appear as a person. As
Okay.
Jesus.
Okay.
The apostle said you can rely on Jesus more so than say whatever you want to put in
It's
blank.
a person with
because
magic
they
powers.
touched him.
It's a
Yeah,
person with magic powers.
Absolutely.
Who do we know of that has magic powers?
We can start with Jesus, and we can go from
Well,
there.
we don't even know Jesus existed. Back to my discussion with this guy here. We don't even know Jesus even
If
existed.
the Bible's prescient, we know that it's accurate.
We don't know that Jesus. The Bible is a book of. It's a myth. Books back then were written with some truth and a lot of falsehoods. That's how books back then were written, and the Bible's no different. It's got a bunch of fairy tales in there that never happened.
We can prove the Bible's prescient. We can prove it tells the future.
Okay, well, how do you? Well, then why is it if the Bible's so good?
I didn't
Why
say it
is
was
it-
good. I didn't say it was good. Let's start
Oh,
with
it's not?
first principles.
Okay.
The Bible predicted events that we know historically.
No,
happened.
interpreted. You interpret passages in
Can
the
I give you an
Bible.
example? There are thousands of prophecies of
There are
the Old Testament.
wannabe prophecies in the Bible.
The Bible gives over 60 specific, measurable time prophecies that all came true in Israel since 1948
Okay,
CE.
I'm sorry, I forgot your name.
Matt.
Matt, that's right.
The Bible has over 60 prophecies that
Matt,
all
if
came
I
true.
predict who's going to win the lottery this weekend, does that mean I'm fucking magical or some
If you
shit?
predict 60 lottery winners 2,000 years before the lottery exists, there's something going
Why
on.
not just one? Why not one? Is that cool enough?
God's very kind.
Is it not
Gives
cool
you-
enough? And where's the measuring stick on this?
I'm giving you
Because
many.
the point is, what does it matter? How?
If you goalpost shift every 3 to 5 seconds, it's hard to keep the conversation.
Oh, there's a
going.
gold post shifting from
You're
me.
smarter-
That's interesting.
You're smarter than me, and it's hard for me to keep up. I just said the Bible has 60 specific measurable
Okay.
prophecies.
That doesn't mean that.
Can I finish?
All right.
That you can see in microfiche, you can see in newsreels, you can see in newspapers since 1948. And you talked about hand waving, and you talked about what's the measuring stick. For example, the Bible says the Jewish people, after they reject whoever their Messiah is, will be scattered in many countries, will be the intelligentsia.
Okay, how does this help the conversation go on?
I'll
Can you just
conclude-
give a short
I'll wrap-
synopsis? No, just give a short synopsis. Just say exactly what you're trying to say without the long-winded one.
Without going back to Jesus' time,
Okay.
we can look in modern times and go,
Right.
the Bible tells the future and is written by a super intelligent being.
We don't know that it's written by a super intelligent being.
If it tells the future, it's written by a being with a time machine, Dr. Who.
Okay. So then we really have no reason to believe in God then, if someone could have a time machine.
We have every reason to believe in the God.
Why?
Because the only text that's proven prescient
Oh, gosh.
is the Bible.
No, I'm sorry. It doesn't work that way. Just because you have interpreted prophecies doesn't mean that
You didn't-
God
how do you know I
exists.
was interpreting? I said specific, measurable. Smart goals are specific and measurable, right?
Even if there are a billion prophecies in the Bible and they're all correct, it doesn't mean that there is a God.
What are the odds that those billion prophecies are true?
It doesn't matter what the odds are. You need evidence and a definition of what a God is.
Well, we have to start with the definition of credulity. What's credulous?
What's what?
What's believable? What's possible? What's plausible?
No, you've got to use logic and reason.
I always use logic and reason.
If you did, then you would know that it's ridiculous to refer to prophecies and trying to say so many in there are true and then say, therefore, God might be true, because you need to show evidence of a God being true. You need to show definition of what a God is. Who cares what the prophecies
Well,
are?
you gave the definition, things that are supernatural, things that are you call magic.
We don't know what's supernatural. Supernatural means above and beyond the natural world. What do we know of the supernatural, Matt?
Okay, so let me. I just make sure I understand because I want to go from where you're at, not where I'm at.
Okay, then you're going to need to
If we
ask for
have-
scientific evidence.
If we have, right, but I'm asking you this: if we have 40 authors writing a book,
unknown authors.
hundreds of fulfilled prophecies, and in that book they say, obey this and get eternal life. You don't find that coincidental if they're just doing prophecies by natural law? That's not plausible.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't mean there's a God.
It's not Occam's razor. It's not logical.
Occam's razor is not.
Occam's razor is if 40 people give hundreds of prophecies that come true over thousands of years, they know something you and I don't.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean there's a God.
I agree.
So then we're back to square one, not knowing what God is and not having any evidence for one. So we shouldn't believe in one.
Oh, I would go further if I'm taking your line of argument. I would say if God appeared here and spoke to you and did miracles in front of you, you'd come to me 5 minutes later.
Well, if God is all-powerful and all-knowing, it would know what I would need to believe in.
I didn't say he's all-powerful and all-knowing. I have to start with the definition of God.
Okay, well,
if Jesus
if
appeared,
it had magical powers,
if
it had magical powers, it can make me believe.
Unless it supported your free will and was consistent.
Free
God
will.
is internally consistent, logically consistent. God supports your free will.
Okay.
God gives you free will.
We don't even know there's God yet, so we can't say that. I've come a long way since our 1990s discussion, my friend. I'm not that little kid anymore.
You used to listen more and talk less. You haven't let me finish a sentence.
You want to know why, Matt? Because I've had this conversation hundreds of times since the 1990s. I've had debates up the butt. I've debated people like you like crazy.
You'll rarely find someone who is as internally consistent as I am. I don't go by much faith. I usually by logic.
If you went by logic, then shit, you've had 25 years since I've seen you.
I did go by logic. Here's something.
Then you would be an atheist again.
Here's something I posited to myself. If I have brown and black shoes in my closet, like most guys, 2 pairs of shoes, brown and black, and you tell me for a year what color I'm going to wear before I wear it, I go, well, that's 2 to the power of 365. You have to know something. You have to have a predictor. There's something going on.
Sure.
I'm not saying you predict the future. I'm not saying you've seen none of ours.
Could be time machine.
So when I read, and you never let me finish a sentence, if I can finish one sentence. The Jews will be scattered to many nations, be the intelligentsia in all of them, be persecuted in all of them, come back to their land, restored in a single day, be surrounded by their enemies, defeat all their enemies, remain undefeated until the Lord returns. That's like 4 of the 60 prophecies that happen in Israel that can be observed in the modern era.
Okay.
And so you have 60 of those prophecies about how their agriculture would work and how their rain table would work and their transpiration cycle and their scientific achievements, and that they'd be Jewish people brought to a land after 2,500 years. And the Bible predicts in our common era that it would be in the spring of 1948 in May, and on May 15, Israel became a nation. And again, you may not be familiar with those prophecies.
I doubt that, but in any
I know
case,
you doubt that, but that's the first thing in your mouth.
It's not going to give a date like
rather
that.
Than let me. Of course it does.
Okay.
Of course it does.
Okay.
You can Google 1948
okay, even if so, you're going back to what I was saying. I don't care about prophecy because it doesn't show that a God exists.
I didn't say the show that God exists.
Then why are we talking about it?
Because we have of millions of volumes of books written in the modern era since, say, Suetonius and Josephus.
So?
Only one of these books, which is unusual in its construction, written by 40 authors, is extraordinarily prescient, and that's compelling.
What do you mean, impressions? What do you mean?
I would say the 2 main proofs I can give you for God are prophecy and testimony.
Yeah, prophecy and testimony aren't good enough. I'm sorry.
Then you're going to go to hell. I don't want you to go to hell.
Why should we believe there's a hell, Matt?
Because God is prescient and loving and gives us testimony. Let me give
so
you...
you really can't answer
If you don't want to
questions.
discuss prophecy, let's talk...
I thought you were a man of logic.
I am.
Well, then you refer to a God that you haven't shown existed.
It's not my burden of proof.
What it is, though, since you made it, the assertion.
No, I'm being eternally consistent. I'll explain the testimony since you don't want to talk about prophecy.
Okay.
You go by your experiences, you're dialectical, you're materialist, you go by what you see and what you observe. I accept
it's called
that.
science, right?
I think that's logical, and that's science.
Right.
Science is observation. I appreciate that. Do you accept that other people who are not you have valid experiences? You're not a...
Sure. But it doesn't mean that they're accurate in their interpretations.
Absolutely. Usually not. Most people are stupid. So we can agree on that. So I have an experience that you've not had.
Mm.
And internally I commune with and I communicate with who I believe is God.
Oh, God.
And I can put some definitions on it.
Hey, it was nice to meet you. I'm sorry I was a little belligerent, but I
Give
I
you-
do appreciate
there you
the conversation.
Hey, man, anytime I get the chance to educate someone,
Yeah.
it's about education and awareness.
Yeah.
You guys might believe in a God today, but give it a decade, you might actually read some books from Sam Harris or something, you know, you might learn something.
Amen. Amen.
Christopher
God bless you, man.
Hitchens.
Have a good one.
I'm an atheist, but thank you.
I'm saying, so I can't give you the experience I have internally of God. I
Right.
can only
Well, your
tell you
experience
the
wouldn't be good enough.
I know you have.
Because even if I shared your experience, I would still need to know that that's valid.
I know. I'm saying you.
That's what scientific evidence is for.
An atheist, to me, is someone who can have a profound experience with God and say, "I just hallucinated it. I just imagined it," because it goes beyond the bounds of their comfort.
Yeah, because that's not reliable.
It's beyond the box you're in.
But you need to actually have evidence. You can't go around thinking and spouting experience, thinking you're gonna you got some silver bullet.
But at the end of the day,
you have to have evidence.
But at the end of the day, if we can maybe instead of saying God, let's define metaphysics. Okay. At the end of the day, I have to look in the mirror and say, I am true to me. I'm not lying to myself. I'm not deceived, which is what you're asking me to do, raising awareness. Hey, man, smell of coffee. I have to look in the mirror and go, I talk to God. God talks to me. That's what I believe.
Yeah, because if you actually believe that, it's just like a form of delusion.
Because in my marriage, when Janine says, I love you, Matthew.
Are you still married to the same lady? All right.
I don't say to Janine, Ted, I never say, Janine, I can't accept that you love me. That's anecdotal.
Well, you have evidence to show that that's true. And Janine's real, unlike a God.
All of it's anecdotal evidence.
But you need...
Many spouses find their spouse was cheating on them.
Listen, you know what? That's one thing I remember of you in the 90s. You're always using analogies to try to argue for you instead of actually being able... Because you can't actually answer the questions.
I'll try to put aside analogies. Just ask me questions. How about that?
What is a God?
Creator.
Okay, so you defined it by what you think it's done.
And there's 100 other definitions. Sovereign, friend, father.
Okay. All right.
I mean, I know my father.
What's it made of?
I know my father, Stephen.
You
don't know him.
Okay, you said you get away from analogies.
I'm saying as a father. But God uses analogies.
What's God made of?
Spirit.
What's a spirit?
A force like gravity in that it's in... Well, see, I have to give an analogy. Gravity.
Okay, I don't need an analogy. I want to know what a spirit is. That means you don't talk about gravity.
Okay. Well, I mean, at every word you're going to use, you say analogy. You say force.
Then that means you don't know what you're talking about, Matt. That's what that means. When you can't answer the question.
A spirit is an invisible force with omnipotent power.
Okay. You describe something by something it's not, about something we have no idea about.
Wait. Invisible, I know what that is. I know what force is.
It's not visible. And force, not defined. Omnipotent force. We don't know of anything that's omnipotent. So you use something that says what it isn't about something we have no idea about.
Last time we chatted, I just make sure, because we should define terms of an argument, right? Last time we chatted,
yes.
What would you say love is, or justice?
Expression of.
There's a concept.
Yeah, it's expression of emotions, attraction.
Oh, so then you'd say there's a natural physical response that's a part of it.
Sure, why not?
So how do we do justice or anything metaphysical? How do we do math? How do we do that? In other words, I was on a jury and I had to say, this person did something that has a weight, and the weight is equal to they need to go to jail. And I was a foreman of a jury twice on felony cases. So I said, this person did an action, and the response has to be jail.
Okay,
how did I weigh that? How did I measure that?
By the severity of their actions.
It's not a one-to-one. There's certain great things. Not everything's in the code of law.
All right, but you would use the severity of the actions and the outcome of their actions to weigh the punishment.
Then why can't I see that with God and observe cause and effect? I don't understand.
Because all the factors in question during that court are real, but we don't know what a God is, so we're talking about something we know nothing about.
No, I had a judge on. You're not allowed to be a juror unless you weren't present at the site. I was not allowed to be a juror if I saw the alleged crime. I had to go on hearsay and testimony.
Okay.
And most cases in America decided on testimony.
But there's evidence showing that person committed the crime.
You can send someone to jail without any physical evidence.
Yes, you could.
You can send someone to jail in circumstantial.
Sure, you can. A lot of men have been put in jail for the Pound Me Too movement. That is correct.
Right. So when I discern or judge what is evidentiary, or when I make a business decision based on what we call intuition,
are the actions
left the realm of physical? I'm going to metaphysical.
Are the actions he's done impossible?
The criminal?
Yeah, the criminal.
If they're impossible, I'm not going to convict him.
Okay, great. So we're talking about something we don't know exists. We don't know God is possible. We don't even know what it is. So you're on an analogy here about something we know nothing about.
But there's good news, and the Bible says Jesus came as a God person to better relate to us, give us analogies, and explain.
Yeah.
And then authenticate.
God sent himself down to cure the problem he started in the first place.
I didn't talk about the problem, but you don't even know what the problem is, so I don't want to go there. You would say the problem is some kind of hell thing. It's not the problem. The problem's very logical.
Uh-huh.
If there's a utopia, People can't go. Birds can go. Trees can go. But people inevitably are self-destructive and destructive to other people. I have to be transformed, changed to go to heaven if there's a heaven. If there's a heaven, I needed a perfect Savior to perfect me, to transform me.
Okay, well, we have no reason to believe any of those things, so why should I
We
give
have every
shit?
reason to believe every of those things
No,
because I've
not at all.
spoken to hundreds of atheists and all of them have said what I said is logical. If a utopia exists, human beings will destroy it, and humans are not ready for utopia. Every atheist I spoke
Well,
to agrees.
that's a separate thing to discuss other than what you're injecting, which is the existence of a God.
I wasn't injecting the existence
Okay,
of God.
well, that's
I
what
was
you're talking
saying
about.
have a
That's what I thought we were
document-
talking about.
I have a series of documents that claim
Okay,
that happened. Yes.
okay. Well, I'm still here without any idea what a God is or why I should believe in one. So,
Well, you know what a father is, and you know what a friend is,
Right,
and
no,
you
but-
know what an advocate is,
but
and
I
you know
don't-
what a judge is. God is all those things.
so God is a person.
Very much as a person.
Okay, how do you know that?
Well,
Because
be a
it says so in the
person
Bible?
eternally.
Is it because it says so in the Bible?
No.
Okay, how do you know it then?
Because of it says so in the Bible,
Yes,
and
and.
the Bible is prescient, and I have a testimony.
How do you say, what's that word again? Prescient?
Prescient knows the future, tells the future accurately.
Okay.
And I have an
You
eternal
added a word to my
witness,
vocabulary. Thank
and
you
I do
for
have
that.
anecdotal experiences.
Okay.
Okay.
Again, it could be a time traveler if you actually were prophecy.
Yes.
So
And-
we can't
and
say God did
I've
it, can
asked
we?
I've asked myself, why would a time traveler give us a moral?
It doesn't matter why. Just for shits and giggles.
Everything matters.
For shits and giggles. He doesn't need to have
To be
a reason to
capricious.
make sense to
To be
you.
capricious. Well, that's what Satanism teaches. Teaches God is capricious, Satan will rule, and so on.
So maybe you just believe
I'm
in a
saying
time
it's like-
traveler that did it for shits and giggles, and there's no reason to believe in a God.
I
So
accept-
maybe you're wasting your
I
time.
accept that as a logical possibility.
Throw away the Bible, Matt. What reason do you have to think there's a God today?
That's a great question. Most people, including you, live morally and are
If
moral
we burned
agents.
all the books and all that stuff,
Okay.
and we came back to this world, we had to start from scratch, the Bible wouldn't be created again. So what reason would we have to believe in a God?
I hate to give you an analogy, but I think you would agree with
Yeah, I hate analogies, my
Well,
friend.
I'm saying people are very intelligent. We could develop faster than light travel, right?
We're working on it.
We could develop.
There's already crafts running around our planet that we don't know
We
about.
could do genetic modifications. We could plant life on another planet, like in Prometheus or Alien Covenant, right? Mm-hmm. Now, if that life was sentient, would you be surprised if they woke up one day and said, "Who made us?" No, you wouldn't, because we made them. But
So,
you're going to tell me that no one made
I
us.
will buy into that better than your little supernatural magical God in the
I
sky.
want to start with something. I want to start with when I watch Prometheus and Covenant, I go, yeah, it's natural for Nomi Rapace's character to go, I want to go to the origin planet. All sentient beings like us want to know the origin. Mm-hmm. And so we have myths and mythos, I agree. But if there was no Bible, no religion, no God, everybody I know is still a moral agent.
If we would be seen as gods, I can understand that. But when you talk about a supernatural, magical being, that's something completely different. If aliens put us here, I can buy into that. But gods with magical powers and the supernatural,
Listen.
if you can't define
But
that,
you-
then
but
I
you
have to.
also-
The logical person has to dismiss it.
But you have an a priori assumption. The a priori assumption is a biogenesis and life from nothing, because that makes
Well,
sense to you.
No, I don't know what nothing is. We don't know what nothing is.
Life evolved on its own with no God.
Okay, yeah.
So if life evolved on its own, I could become sentient, I could plant space seed, they would look to their creator.
Sure.
So let me ask you a question. How do you know whether we are evolved from the primordial soup or whether we're space seed? How do you know that?
No, we don't. We don't know that.
But you're finding fault with me because in my life, at one time I pursued the creator myth, that you're finding fault with me?
I find.
That's not fair.
Oh, you think you've changed since then?
Huh?
You've changed since then? Since the 1990s?
I haven't. I still think the same way. I'm
Oh,
more self-aware of
well.
my weaknesses, but I try to use logical consistency. I ask a lot of questions.
If someone wants to say, "Hey, it's possible we were created by aliens and put here," then that's something to discuss, but it's not something we can know. So until we know, we should not believe.
Unless an alien stepped out of his
Right.
time machine.
But that's not happening right now.
But we could start with Jesus because Jesus
No.
was also prescient.
No, we don't know Jesus actually ever existed.
That's arguable. That's how
Everything's arguable. But there's
But
no
you and-
historian
you and-
written.
you
There's
and
no
women
historian
are in
during
there.
Jesus'
You and women
supposed
are in
time.
the public debate.
What's that?
The historicity of Jesus is without question.
No,
all scholarly.
there's no historian during his supposed lifetime that ever wrote about it. Everything is well after the fact.
You're saying the 12 people, the 12 teams of apostles and scribes are not
The
historians.
Bible was written well after. We don't know who the authors are. Josephus, Tiberius, Tacitus. All these people existed well after the fact.
10, in addition to the 10 or so Roman historians of the first century who spoke about either Jesus or Christians. We have, in addition to the 12 teams of people who wrote the New Testament, in addition to the dozens of people who wrote the Old Testament and said what he would be like in prophecy. Okay. We also have apocryphal writers, but you're dismissing them all.
Yep, they were all written well after the fact. Well after the fact.
I can accept that.
And it's reasonable to do that. It's reasonable to do
I didn't say
that.
it's unreasonable. I have to go by logic, and this is where
If you went by logic, you wouldn't believe in something we have no evidence for.
Logic led me to questions that are rhetorical.
Do you know how quickly stories become far out fetched?
Yes.
You can tell someone a rumor in the morning, at the end of the school day, it's all fucked up.
Like the Oscar thing, or 9/11, yes.
They wrote the Bible well after Jesus supposedly existed over stories that people had.
I accept that.
That's what Tacitus did.
Except when I took that assumption, because the hypothetical method is assume it's true, when I said to myself, and I still say it, the Bible was written after, how do I know it's reliable? I then was prompted with more questions, which I like to share the questions with you. Okay? The Jewish people and the Romans would persecute those Jews who were Messianic. A Jewish person would lose their status, their income. Writers who wrote these falsehoods.
Well, what if they just did it for shits and giggles? To control the people.
Okay. I do things for giggles all the time, but not at the risk of
Doesn't mean other people won't.
Agreed. Now I'm asking. I agree. I like the way you think because you're thinking of the next question. I did the same thing. But now I say to myself, why do about 35 men now risk expulsion from Jewish life and death at the hands of the Jews and the Romans?
Because people will die for false beliefs all the time.
Agreed, but not in those numbers.
No, they have. Look at Waco. Lots of people who believe in stupid shit.
Put differently. I disbelieve the Quran. It disagrees with the scriptures, the Bible.
Of course.
But the Quran was given by one person orally and written down later.
Oh, of course.
You guys talking about the Quran versus the Bible?
No, well, just now, but not before that.
Abu Bakr and how he was like one of the only people who wrote it, and he had like a lot. You guys know what Octavian did with Julius Caesar? So after Julius Caesar died, Octavian deified his father to legitimize the line of succession, and Abu Bakr had a lot to gain politically from doing that to Muhammad. And in fact, he did. He inherited most of the Islamic. I wouldn't call it an empire, but it's not politically correct. But it was basically an Islamic empire.
Which Octavian are you thinking of? Which date?
Sorry?
Which date are you thinking of?
This was in the 7th century.
For a second, I thought you were thinking about it earlier.
Abu Bakr was like Muhammad's right hand
One of the
man.
reasons I disregard the Quran is it has no sense of linear time. They didn't have words for linear time in Arabic. And so you have things mixed up, like Pharaoh threatens Moses and Aaron with crucifixion, which wasn't invented for 1,500 years. But I'm asking you, when you know that 35 people, what would you say, went crazy? Stupid? But then said, you know what, I'll write these very lengthy documents. I'll cite other documents the way you and I would write a white paper and cite documents or references. My wife won't talk to me. My children will throw stones at me.
Matt, it doesn't matter.
It's not logical.
It doesn't matter whether you think it's logical or not. You can't just say, well, not everyone's crazy, therefore maybe they weren't crazy, so maybe what they wrote is okay.
That's not what I
believe
said.
in it.
That's not what I said.
But that seems like what you're saying.
I had a motivation to disbelieve Christ. I didn't want to believe it.
Okay.
And therefore I raised hundreds
Doesn't
of
mean
questions.
that doesn't mean that there's good reason to believe Jesus existed or that there's a God.
I agree.
Are you
So-
saying that Jesus didn't exist?
I agree.
I have no reason to think
But
he
what
did.
you may be unaware of, Ted, you may
Well,
not
there's
know.
historians.
You
like
may not.
Jewish
You
historians.
may not know.
Where?
Not Jewish historians. You may not
What?
know.
It's a Jewish historian.
You may not know. I said not just Jewish
Oh,
historians.
sorry. my bad.
You may not know that when you look at Wikipedia, and I know Wikipedia is not the source of all, but when you enter Historicity of Jesus, the first sentence is, most scholars agree
It doesn't
that
matter,
Jesus,
man.
excuse me, let me finish, lived, died, and was baptized. They don't say he was resurrected. But every liberal and conservative religious scholar and historian I know knows Jesus was an historical figure.
No, they don't know. They assert.
They assert why? Because people wrote logically consistent documents. to
There
talk
is
about.
no evidence to suggest that he actually existed.
Well, that's
Tons of
not true.
evidence.
They're not just saying that
There's
just
tons of
because.
evidence.
Oh,
Ted,
actually, that is
Ted,
true.
I was in his tomb in Jerusalem. It's empty.
What?
I was at Jesus' tomb in Jerusalem. It's empty.
Oh,
Well,
God.
not just that. I was going to reference there was a Jewish historian who wrote about him. There's a Greek
Really? Who?
historian, and there was
Who?
a Roman
Who?
historian. Do you want me to look it up for
I
you?
mean, Tacitus, Josephus.
Suetonius,
Yeah, I know about them. They
Pliny
existed,
the Elder,
they
Pliny
existed
the Younger.
after Jesus supposedly existed.
But-
no historian during Jesus' time actually wrote about it.
Most of our
Understood.
knowledge
So,
of ancient
so,
history is
don't-
like that.
Let me
Well,
ask Ted. Let me
then
ask Ted. Let me
unfortunately,
ask you a
that's what we're stuck
question.
with.
Let me ask you a question. If I'm going to go with a hypothetical, if Jesus didn't exist, why say, let's just say 30 years later, do Romans say there's a bunch of Jews running around saying their Messiah resurrected? Why would they do that?
It's just stories that were written.
What do you mean stories?
Stories that were written, just like Tacitus wrote
now,
about
now
Jesus.
you're earlier dating the scriptures, so that helps me.
No, it's,
Listen,
there are lots of stories written by people. Like Tacitus wrote about what people
Ted.
believed at the time.
I recognized you when I saw you. I remembered your name from 25 years ago. We had a lot of wonderful encounters.
I wouldn't say wonderful.
Well, we were combative, and I was younger then. I apologize.
You never had an audience until I came around. No one would listen to you unless I engaged.
Well, I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
But I remembered you distinctly from 25 years ago, and I greeted you by name. I also find it plausible that, if I saw my friend rise from the dead and I wrote about it 30 years later, I'd be pretty accurate. But you won't accept that because that's simple logic.
Well, even if we agree even if we all agree that Jesus existed, we're still left with no reason to believe in any God, which is the whole point. I'm just saying that there's no reason to believe Jesus actually existed. But even if I gave it to you, we'd still be without God.
We have many reasons. We could start with
don't.
We could start with the law of non-contradiction. This is a cell phone, and you would agree it cannot be
analogy
both.
time.
No, well, if you shook your head when I said the law of non-contradiction. You tell me the law of non-contradiction.
No.
Then I'll tell you. This cannot be both a phone and not a phone. Agreed?
Sure.
You agree?
Well, it depends. It could become a paperweight.
That's why. No, at this time, at this moment, this is either a phone or not a phone.
Okay, sure.
It can't be Schrodinger's cat. It can't be both.
Okay, sure.
That's been a universal law in all cultures, all peoples, all times. You can't exist without it. You can't say...
You can't exist without what?
You can't exist without the law of non-contradiction. You can't have a society.
All right.
Because if I go to a cash register and I give them $1 and I want 50 cents back, they go, it's not really 50 cents. Here's a quarter. We have an argument. You have to have things in a state.
Unless they call 50 cents something else.
It's the whole a priori of what we're talking about where you say, I only accept what is real, and you already gave me the definitions.
What does this have to do with the God?
You already gave me the definition of what is real.
What?
You already gave me the definitions in some part of what is real.
Okay. So what does that have to do with the God?
The law of non-contradiction is a metaphysic that you believe in.
What does that have to do with the God?
It has to do with, if you accept metaphysics, you have to accept the logical possibility that there may be a God.
Metaphysics? Why would I ever want to care about talking about the metaphysics? Metaphysical.
Because you keep saying logic, which is metaphysical. It's not tangible. It's intangible.
Well, it's conceptual.
It's intangible.
It's conceptual in our head, just like math.
It's more than conceptual. I would use a word you
I wouldn't use metaphysical.
I would use true. Is logic true?
I wouldn't use metaphysical.
Is logic true? Does it work?
We've shown logic to be very useful, yes.
Have we shown enough times for your satisfaction?
But what does that have to do with the God existing?
You accept an invisible, conceptual, intangible framework as guiding truth for your life.
A concept that I can use in my head. It's not a being that's alive that can do magic. Quite a big difference, my friend.
So you're saying it's a false equivocation between saying...
Oh, it is hugely false.
Can I finish? Make sure I understand you. It's a false equivocation to say there's some abstracts that work for my life and others that seem more magical. Is that what you just said?
Okay. So you're talking about, you're trying to compare math to a God. If a God is nothing but a concept I have in my head, then I'll accept that. If that's what you're saying, is God is just a concept,
I wouldn't go there.
Then I'm done. Then I'll agree with you.
Logic, I would say logic is more than a concept you have in your head. For example,
I don't see how
the law of non-contradiction is called a law because it's universal.
What does that have to do with a God?
Well, we can start with the binary. Either there is one or more gods or there isn't. You'd have to agree with that.
I don't even know what a God is.
Well, then we can't talk about anything. Why are we talking? I don't understand.
Yeah, exactly, because we don't know what a God is.
I think you know what a God is, but...
If I knew what a God is, I wouldn't be asking you.
But you don't accept any of my definitions.
Just because you don't give any.
Well, for one, Jesus...
That are scientifically based.
For one, there's a God-man who is a person.
Oh, we don't know.
And we know what a person is.
Okay.
No. I'm talking about the concept, not the
You'll say
evidence.
anything, Matt.
I'm talking about the concept, not the evidence. I want to find common ground, yeah. I want to talk about the...
Hey guys, how you doing? It's Ted the Atheist. It's like 4 a.m. on Thursday morning, 31st here. I did yesterday. I came across the preacher, two of them actually. One of them, his name is Matt. The second guy you'll see, he I knew him from here. And when I got out of the military, I moved down here to Florida, and I spent a lot of time in the University of Florida campus. And Matt was one of the preachers here that I first engaged in when I was pretty green. I've learned a lot since then, and as you can see, he's full of rhetoric, and word salads, and the second guy that you see me talking to, and he's very. He will say anything to try to get anywhere in the conversation. Like, he doesn't give a crap. He'll say he's logical, but then he doesn't use logic, and he'll just. Well, you see what he's doing. You can summarize it for yourself. You can probably summarize it better than I can. But the guy just doesn't. It's just ridiculous, and that's the way he was back then. And of course, back then I had a problem dealing with him. I had to learn over time to keep people on track and not let them get off of track. But he just tries to play all his words into making it seem like he's keeping on track when he's not. And you have to. It's really difficult to deal with some of these preachers out there. He's one of those people who you really have to be on your game, and you have to make sure that they don't go off on a tangent and talk about something that is not relevant. I hope you paid attention to that. But unfortunately, I had 2 batteries with me with my my Insta 360, and they were both pretty low. I haven't filmed anything for a while, so they've been in the bag for a while. So that's why the video's kind of cut off. I didn't really have a chance to. I actually had to replace a battery once I noticed the light was out, so that's why it's cut off a little bit. But I tried to get as much as I could. Once the 2 batteries were done, that was it. I didn't bring more than 2 batteries, but I don't really have many videos because I don't really get to campus that much. I've been trying to go lately after work just to try to catch and find something, and luckily I did this time. Some guy out there giving free tests. What a bunch of bullshit. I've been meaning to do more videos, but I'm just lazy. I could use some help. I don't know what I'm going to do. I have an idea of some more videos, but we'll see what happens. I don't know. I'm just going to try to find more preachers, and apparently maybe my channel is just for good enough for me to upload me debating these preachers, and that's all it's going to be. I have no freaking idea. But okay. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and peace.